my whole face caught on fire, and I was left with like third and second degree burns like all over the place.
When I first look at this, it looks dangerous. Is it
Mhm.
dangerous?
Oh, yes. Back in 2019 in February was probably like my worst accident ever, and that's my whole face caught on fire, and I was left with like third and second degree burns like all over the place, in my on my lips, in my nose, my ears, my fingers were all messed up. Everything else has been like burns here, burns there, cuts here.
What was the doctor's reaction when you told him, like, what were you doing? Like, well, this is what I was doing.
He was wondering what happened. Um, and we explained to him what I do and what happened, and then he's just like, "Oh, okay." I think he was more stunned about when I asked him right afterwards, like, when do you think I can go back to dancing, to working again? And he just looked at me like I'm crazy, and he was just like, I think you need to find something else to do, because we don't know how you'll recover from this. And I kind of just chuckled a little bit because it's like this doctor has no idea who I am. That stopping is not an option.
How bad was it?
I look like I would say I probably look like Deadpool with his mask off. I don't know if anybody knows what that looks like. Or like Dark Vader when his face was all messed up. But pretty much everything, it was all gone. The only thing that were not touched were my eyeballs.
How did it happen?
I was trying something new, and it just didn't work out the way I planned it to be.
Like the knife just hit you in the face, or the fire came up and
It
caught your
was it
hair, or
was it was all the fuel, all the gasoline that kind of just sprayed all over my face, mixed with the fire at the same time, and so like I ended up setting my face on fire. But it just happened in my front yard. It didn't happen at a gig, so I didn't even get paid for it. Um, but I had all my friends there, so they were able to put me out.
what happens more? Do you get cut or burned?
Burn, because even sometimes we'll even burn ourselves on purpose.
Why are you burning yourself on purpose?
It looks cool, but no, like it's like a cloud pleaser. So I don't know if you've seen the dance already, but we put the fire on our tongue and then we light the other side on fire. Some people like to hold that fire on their tongue for as long as they can because it looks impressive. Or we put the fire on our feet and try to hold it there as long as we can, or on our hand because it looks impressive. Like, wow, this guy's holding the fire on his hand for so long. Like, isn't he feeling any pain? And it's like, yes, we are, but we're used to it.
For people who are maybe familiar, what is this basically?
Just to give a little background on what this fire knife dancing comes from the islands of Samoa. And back in the olden days, this was a war club made out of wood, carved from a tree. And it was a war club. So when people went into battle with different villages, they used the war club to destroy their opponents. And at the end was a hook shape. And the reason for that was to just kind of like cut them wherever they can get and whatnot, and grab their legs and pull it, using this war club. And what they used to do is they used to walk back to their villages with the heads hanging from their hook of the enemies that they just destroyed. And they go back to their villages and do this thing called the ailau, which is spinning, twirling of the knife or the war club. And the way they were dancing with their war club, their Nifo Oti, is how they would demonstrate how they won their battles. Versus today, how we still want that same mindset when we dance on the stage, but we're also entertaining as well with traditional and modern movements. And this is what we dance with. So this is the hook. This is what modern looks like. This is when metal was introduced to the islands. But back in the olden days, this was a big fat wooden club with a hook on the end. But this is metal, and this is what we use today to spin. So they use this hook to grab their enemies wherever they can, hang the heads on the hook, and walk back to the villages and dance with them to celebrate and to demonstrate how they won their battle.
So the knife part is really just that hook, right?
Yeah, that's the only knife part. The other end, we call it the butt end, and that's this end right here that's also on fire. But yeah, it's a big long handle with a big blade knife at the end because we used to carve these out of machetes.
So that was a traditional weapon, but they would just use the hook part. Why wasn't the rest of it like?
Well, the other parts were used too to smack over somebody's head. The hook was just to use to just like get a grip on somebody.
So when did they decide to start lighting it on fire?
So, kind of fast forwarding through things, all the violence and wars stopped between islands when Christianity came around and was introduced to the islands. And it took a man named Freddie Latuli from American Samoa who came over to the US in San Francisco. And he got the idea back in 1946. He got the idea when he saw a baton twirler and a Hindu fire breather or eater at a talent show. Because back in those days, in the 1940s, they were just spinning just a knife, no fire, just the blade itself, and show how dangerous it was and whatnot. But he got the idea from watching these other acts. And so that, I believe it was that night that he decided to just grab towel, whatever fuel he can find, and attach it to his knife and light it up, and the rest is history, pretty much.
If you can show me that again, like how are you keeping it on fire? Like how does it work?
So,
What is it made out of?
so a lot of people use different things. Some use towels, some use Kevlar. This is what we call soundboard, oddly enough, and you can get this at Home Depot or Lowe's, depending what your taste is for hardware stores. And there's wire right here that we wire it in, and this is we cut it to this shape to our liking to match the blade.
And the other end is kind of,
It's out of the same material. We just cut it differently into circles. We call them donuts.
is this still a mainstay in a lot of cultures?
Oh yeah, because of the men, Freddie Latuli, the Latuli family. This has gone, I think, probably even more than they expected. To where it's in the Lion King show at Orlando, Florida, the Animal Kingdom. It's in Cirque du Soleil. It's been in commercials and stuff like that. I've had the honor and privilege to share it with the world as well, with TV shows and the news and stuff like that, and documentaries. So this has been passed around a lot.